No, I do not have a link to it at the moment. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's March 27th, Dante's Unbound has finally dropped. I said I had builds ready to go for the update. This one is the first. Nezha's Augment actually got nerfed, but it doesn't matter because it's still insanely strong. As you know, a lot of stuff shipped in this update. I'm extremely busy over the next couple of days. Pros means you get videos immediately. 2, it means it's raw. But hey, most of these new builds and stuff and whatnot are pretty self-functioning, so it shouldn't take too much explanation to understand how it works. Alright, here's the TLDR on the new Nezha Augment. Bring 2 plus Corrosive stack Shards. Build high range for your Divine Spears, like this. And you win. That's it. This is the build that I'm using right now. So the important thing you want to understand about this is that Divine Retribution tags things through walls. It can CC enemies behind walls. For the longest time, Nezha was one of the best crowd control frames alongside Nyx. While Nyx's Chaos allows trash mobs to shoot Xmas units, they can also shoot you back if you get too close. Divine Spears doesn't affect Xmas units with Overguard, but anything that isn't an Xmas is hard CC'd. Now, this thing has base 19 meters range. There's a reason why DE does not make crowd control abilities with this much range anymore. So, you can hit anything within 50 meters of you through walls. And, you want to know the most important thing. So the way how this augment works is any status effect that you apply to an enemy will spread to all other enemies that are also speared. So, I think it's pretty obvious on what we can do with this. For this build, beyond just the range, the example is pretty simple. Because you're dependent on Divine Spears to nuke, and you can always get energy back from your 2, because that gives you a possibility of health orbs, energy orbs, blah blah blah, that's why we have equilibrium. But I build higher efficiency so that you never ever have to worry about it. You don't need energize, you don't need anything else, equilibrium is fine. If you want to do the funnies and DPS with his Reaping Chakram augment, that works too. Because, of course, the amount of heat procs that this bounces off will get reflected to everybody else, and we've already seen in the past how strong Reaping Chakram can get. If you want an update on that, please do go check out my video at the top right, as I covered it about, I think like 1.5 years ago or something, on theoretically what you can do with Reaping Chakram. Now with Nautilus grouping enemies up, or some other grouping tool if you want to use, because Nourish is actually not needed on this build, then you can get big PP damage that way as well. But I'm going to be showing you primarily a weapon platform build with Nezha today. Molt Augmented is nice to bring the strength back up to 100, so that your damage vulnerability on this is restored to 100%, which is primarily only going to be used if you really need energy, or if you're, say, facing an Acolyte, because of course they're capped on heat stacks, because that's our main way of killing today. Or maybe a problematic Xmas. The second slot is free for attack speed and fire rate. Now, you don't need Nourish. The only reason why this is here is to get your first kill off the ground so that your weapon can stack the galvanized mods and arcanes. So anything that is a beam weapon is what I would recommend. Of course, the most brain dead option is Ocucor, because you don't really need to aim it. You just shoot in the general direction of enemies. So of course, remember I put Emerald Shards on, which is the reason why I'm going for Corrosive. And then the only other element I can easily pair on, like yes, there are exceptions and certain weird combinations you can do, but Corrosive Heat is the obvious one, because now we can strip Corrosive off the armor on any enemy within any radius, so long as they are tagged by my Divine Spears, and of course the heat will be spread to everybody else as well. I just tested this about 10 minutes ago on stream with everybody watching, and we were all like, holy shit, it works just as we predicted. Of course, use Cascadia Flare, because I mean, if you're spreading heat procs everywhere across the entire tile, you're going to get all the stacks you need. So, of course, this is important as always, but let's go and see what we get out of this kind of build. You do not need that much duration. Again, you might have been wondering about that, because Divine Spears still last 5 seconds, and that's enough time to kill everything. Rolling Guard is only recommended and really needed for endurance. Otherwise, you can put Natural Talent in here if you don't want to bring Casting Speed Shards so that his forecasts faster. Finally, of course, Nautilus could be helpful. That's what most people might think, but I want to point something out very quickly. Remember that Cordon can only pull enemies within 30 meters of us, whereas Divine Spears will crowd control anything within 50 meters of us on this build, which means we are killing a bigger radius then Cordon can find enemies to pull in. Which means, no, you're not restricted to Nautilus and Cordon. Use whatever you want that tickles your fancy. Other beam weapons that can do corrosive heat work well. That means Ocucor, even Synapse on a primary slot, innate corrosive, which means you can go all heat weight to keep low corrosive to maximize your damage from status weight. What else do we have from here? We have, what's that beam called again? It's the infested beam from Deimos. Beam. Okay, well, Atomos can work because it's heat. I know it's innate corrosive. Catabolus. There, you can use that too as well. Anything that you can comfortably get corrosive heat on and his main status weight will do extremely well on this. But let me show you, finally, what this build can do. Actually, let's head into Lua on Circulus instead. So there isn't really much else that we need to do. Oh, hey, look, we got this guy right up here, too. So I'm gonna do this. And now we're in. Remember, you have your halo, so you can be nice and healthy. And then you just kill stuff. Like so. And now you're good to go. Hey, look, there's enemies over here. Well, you can spear them. Get be back this way. And then just... Oh, look, everything is dead. I kill this. They're all dead. Do this. Oh, look, they're all dead. So, this makes Nezha one of the best nuke frames now because of how easy it is. It scales off of your weapon, so it's supremely easy to get enough damage and heat stacks going. I didn't even have viral on yet. Let me recast my halo. Oh look, I can't hit enemies properly around me because I'm stuck in a tunnel. Well, everything still dies, just like that. They burn to their deaths. So that's all you need to do. I would still recommend bringing a separate weapon to deal with Acolytes because while I did mention you can use Reaping Chakram to apply damage vulnerability to them, it's still just not exactly the same because of their stack on how many status effects that they can take. But this is really all you need now to turn Nezha into an insane nuking frame. If you want an updated Reaping Chakram build, you're going to probably have to wait until tomorrow, because I already have a list of all the different videos and augments and stuff that I'm planning to cover today, and that might take a little bit more time, but I can tell you right now that if this is what we can get with any type of weapon that applies corrosive and heat, then what do you think a quadratic scaling ability DPS can do? So yeah, essentially melee influence as an augment, but works for everything and not just melee. Remember when I put out the Yareli build or the Mirage build, and then that stuff, it just doesn't work anymore apparently, right? Yet then they go and make this, which is basically the exact same thing as what we had before. So once again, all you need, corrosive heat, spears, kill enemies, don't need to worry about needing to unspear because you have a 5-second duration on the spears only, and that's realistically only how often you need to cast it. Okay, I'm not going the right way on the paths. But yeah, 364 kills, and I'm not even farming specifically in good rooms for kills, right? Like, look at this. That's over 150 kills a minute, excluding like the initial time where I was just waiting for enemies to spawn in, and I barely had to do anything. So look at all those enemies that we tagged like that up there, and then if you just go around, hit them like this, whoops, the spears disappeared. So yeah, normally I would recommend spear when you actually have enemies that you can hit, but everything else easily dies out, which means Nezha is now another top tier and one of best nukes in the game, because you kill 1 or 2 enemies, you kill everything. And that's all that means. Is this with green shards? Yes. So, yes, you can get away without it, but I would strongly, strongly recommend to do this with green shards, because that's how the whole synergy of this works. This is the first time that we're able to get such a comfortable AoE armor strip, because this is a 50-meter armor strip in a perfect sphere around you. without needing to worry about any weird side effects like Terrify, making enemies run off and stuff and whatnot. Whoops, okay, these ones are still speared. So if you want a little bit of duration back, you could also just run a little bit of Shards or swap the build around a little bit to get a little bit duration back, like 1 or 2 ranks lower in Fleeting Expertise. Whereas the Acolyte, there it is. I'm just going to take this moment to shoot you specifically. Because as we know, of course, Burst Incarnate is not the best tool to kill Acolytes with, but it can still work. Just to its damage in part being hit scan AoE, which is quite scuffed against them. But of course, being such a strong weapon, it doesn't matter. There we go. They're all dead again. So, now that we've been in here for a little bit, I guess we can extract, because there is not that much else that I need to say about the Augment, is there? Of course, if you run melee builds too, then it will work, though that's not too different from melee influence itself, albeit you'll have bigger radius that you can get away with. But this is what I recommend. And of course, if you run a little higher duration, then you don't need to worry about Nourish only lasting about 10 seconds anymore. But as I've showed, you don't actually need it once you get the stacks going. Whoops, that was me being greedy there, not paying attention. But you don't actually need Nourish once your Ocucor, whatever beam weapon you have going, has enough Galvanized and Weapon Arcane stacks. And yes, remember, the build actually has rolling guards, so that's another point against me for not even rolling. At the very least, if I wasn't paying attention to my Halo and stuff, I could have rolled, but, well, we didn't. So, as I always say, a like and subscribe always helps out the channel. Thank you all so much for supporting me. We still got Giga builds. Things might have been quiet, but it's because I have been waiting for this update. Thank you all for watching, and, well, let me a little bit longer to get there. I'll see you all next time. Let's look at that kill rate one more time with how scuffed that was. Oh, wait, where's the button? Where is the button? Come on. I want to see the kills for a scuffed run where we're focused on talking. 649. Yeah, okay. But we know that this can get easily 150-ish from when we were actually focusing a little bit on kills for the first 3 minutes. But yeah, definitely get the Augment. Turns Nezha into a monster. Now he's a speedster, a tank, infinite energy from his 2, massive crowd control from his 4, and now AoE Nuke DPS. There you go. That's it. See you all around for the next one.